Stranger on a Strange Land review. My name is Faiz Jilan. Please welcome. So, the year is 1961. Robert A. Heinen, American science fiction author, the one so-called dean of science fiction writers, wrote a book titled Stranger on a Strange Land, a book about science fiction, the future of human culture, and thought-provoking ideas. It is so thought-provoking that the book is banned from all school libraries in America for a reason. To put it in a nutshell, the story is about Michael Mike Smith, a man who was born in the middle of space expedition to Mars. He was raised entirely by Martian for his entire childhood, and then later, the Martian gave him back to Earth. The story focuses on Mike, who has no understanding of human culture before, trying to adopt a normal human life, and on the other hand, humanity who also determined to understand the unhuman-like knowledge that Mike has. The book itself is definitely worth the read. It's treating the readers all the interesting stuff relating science fiction and even the original stuff that starting sci-fi as a genre. It also has political scheme that spice up the plot story and some cool old-fashioned action sequences. And also this book has some adult stuff, of course. But more than that, the book gives us a good example, a representation of a bizarre cultural cross-pollination between Martian ideology that Mike brought and human ideology and culture as a whole, which that event portrayed how a new belief developed in an already culture-established society. But before I get into that, let me tell you the general plotline in this novel. The story started by telling Mike's story. After all his whole origin being raised by Martian in Mars and brought back to Earth, he had a sick head in hospital since he was not used to the gravitation wave on Earth. And at that time, Mike met Jilan Boardman, a woman who by chance broke into Mike's room out of curiosity. As Jill, seeing Mike unwell, she offers Mike a cup of water, which from Mike's understanding of Martian culture, sharing a cup of water means having social bond between two people. It is because water is a high value thing in Mars. Now, Mike is considered wanted by world government for he is an investment of all knowledge about Mars and everything, which they attempt to manipulate, abduct, and imprison Mike before their enemies got their hand on Mike. From this point on, Jill determined to help Mike survive the day from being chased and even killed. Then, at a moment of the danger, Jill got knocked out by one of the government dogs, and it upset Mike so much that Mike shows his psychic power that he erased those dogs out of existence, which means Mike has the power of Thanos snap. And then began the second arc. Jill brought Mike to his friend, Jubal Harshaw, an acclaimed author, doctor, lawyer, philosopher, definitely the definition of modern renaissance. Jubal agreed to help them out. And at this point, we got introduced to the sci-fi and the cultural pollination stuff as Jubal also become the one that analyzing Mike's power, such as he can erase anything from the existence like before, he can levitating stuff, and then also he can astral projection. And he can do astral projection because yeah, Martian is a really super being. And also Jubal is the one who tried to understand Mike's mindset that is super interesting, yet sometimes it's contradicting human aspect, such as the meaning of death and belief on God on the perspective of Mike as a Martian. But still, Mike cannot fully explain to Jubal in a human language about stuff like that. And also there is this do art god and so am I stuff that Mike's brought. But later on, Jubal also helped Mike problem by making a contract with government side and stopping all their attempt before Mike erased every soldier in the nation that came across him. And that's it. Mike is free and from being killed by and chased by government, at least for now. And then the third arc. But of the first half of the first arc and the second arc of this book offers us a complex political machination and the contradiction of humanity and alien perspective on the mindset of their being. It has such a really cool world building. But the third arc of the book is about how Mike take over the world with binding everyone's mindset by sharing his understanding of God and universe. He doing so through sex. So, it started in one night. Mike gained a deeper understanding of human and his existence. Later on, he met a woman who had water bonding with him before. Mike, like a normal man as he is, fell on earth to have an intercourse with her. and after the session, surprisingly, the woman was able to fully comprehend Mike's understanding of the art God thing. And so Mike found out that he can communicate his knowledge about this universe that he was unable to translate into English before by having sex with them. So Mike Angel started to spread this whole scheme of teaching human the real truth stuff by having sex with Mike, which is basically they created a sex cult. Oh my God. Yeah, I say that this book is banned for a reason. Now, Mike Angel told everyone in this ungodly church that he found about Martian language, telekinetic, teleportation, psychic power, and all of that can be gained by having intercourse with Mike. This whole thing was not agreed by everyone, of course. There was part when the World Church Organization, kinda like Vatican in real life, tried to burn Mike's skull, and they also frequently got attacked, got abused by the other two. But since Mike's follower already is a superhuman and have psychic power, they safely survived like it was nothing. Then, in this moment also, Mike received a message from Martian in Mars that they had been observing humans through Mike's eyes and deciding if humans should be erased or not. Mike told Jubal about this because it is dangerous. The Earth might get destroyed by Martian in about 5,000 years, and he also explained that humanity actually have a chance to survive if only humanity can embrace their true meaning. How? By embracing one thing unique about human race, which is Mike believe is heterosexual intercourse. Oh my God. Jubal told Mike that this whole cult thing already answered his worries. Mike is already unstoppable since Mike's follower is superpower and all and will certainly dominate the other and even able to take over the world. Hearing that, Mike was relieved, feeling that all his need here is done. Then what Mike do after that? Mike submit his life to people who oppose his existence and getting himself being killed. After Mike was gone, Jubal had a hard time coping with that since he sees Mike as his son and he even almost went to kill himself. But thankfully, Mike personification shows up and interferes his attempt. This whole Martian psychic power had already disposed the meaning of death for Mike. Well, Jubal glad that Mike is still around, so later on, Jubal wrote a book about Mike titled A Martian Named Smith. Now, how did this book, a novel with sci-fi as its core genre, portray how a belief developed in an already culture-built society? Well, the book did it by deconstructing the society norm, what is acceptable morally, and how it was seen from another perspective that people believe it came from higher being. Then, the novel did it by constructing Mike as the God figure, or the prophet, with all his power and his perpetuous knowledge about the truth, God, and all, which is, from this part, with Mike as the one who brings a new culture, is where the cultural cross-pollination happens. Humans try to learn Martian culture from Mike to gain superpower and greater understanding about universe. But also, I want to emphasize that in this novel case, one culture overpowered the other, since Mike, as a Martian, is the God figure in this novel. His character is considered by the other characters as the truest truth and believe everything what he said, everything what he did, even though it's disregard, human norm relates to it. And then there is the third part, that I want to throw in line in here. The novel did literally the opposite of what religion did. For in religion, we learn that religions is fixing the society's norms that are viewed humanly wrong, while what Mike did here are completely disregarding a well-established positive norm and replace it with a more questionable and even unacceptable culture. Now, Jubal has a lot of role in this scenario because he is deconstructing some of human norm aspect, and as Jubal has a lot of role in this scenario because he is the one who deconstructing some of human norm aspect in their society. Mike and Jubal had been exchanging each other culture throughout the narrative. Jubal tells Mike that human doesn't know what happened after they die, while Mike as a Martian know what happened when they die. Know what happened when they die. After they die, after a Martian die, they ascend to what they call the old ones, which are the greater being than they are before, which means death really has no meaning, which means religion or search for the in search of the God has no meaning to them because they already know their God and they already know what happened after they die. And this is why Martian have cannibalism thing, which is Martian each each other Martian eat each other corpses when they die, which this stress cannibalism is become a subject that contradict each culture. And Jubal in the novel admitting that they accepting their culture. He accepts this cannibalism is not a bad thing as the truth, as he and he later also explained that human thought cannibalism is gross because we are grown in a society that told us that. So basically, Jubal believed that cannibalism is bad thing in our society is because of social brainwashing. For Jubal, Martian is the truth. Jubal here picking on a Martian side because he believed that Martians are higher than human as a being. And then later, this eating corpse thing already implemented by human in the story, where in the end of the novel letter, everyone eats the soup that made of Mike's corpse. So basically, humanity has already accepted that, has already implemented this Martian culture into their social life. Then I want to point out into the cult event. Mike and Jill spread the Martian power and ideology by having intercourse with Mike. This whole event, of course, is started because Mike wanted to share his knowledge to the others, which he cannot fully translate into human language, since sex is the only way, all the way goes is. And this culting become the global scale cult of people with psychic power sharing sexual tension to everyone. This culting, of course, disregarding human social aspect, which is we cannot just bond with whoever we want. But again, this whole thing is viewed from the perspective of our character as acceptable. Jubal even explained later that the exhibitionism like this is natural and we were uncomfortable with this and consider this thing is taboo also because of social brainwashing in our society. Well, nonetheless, the novel implementing how society will react if a culture that defying all the well-established culture came to them, claiming it as the truth. And the same thing happened to religion that started spreading their belief, right? Mike's gaining followers that believe in him 100%, but also enemies that are afraid of his power. And at this point, the novel even claiming that Mike's cult is the right side of this, since the cult is the answer of saving humanity by giving power to humanity before they attack by Martian. And in the end, in the really end of this novel, yeah, that's the truth. The human safe from the Martian wars. All thanks for Mike. Now, Mike's character, which is fully developed point when he showed his empathy and willingness to protect humans from being destroyed by Martian, he was fully realized that he had established a strong community that believed in him and believed his role is done. Well, his final sacrifice when he let his enemies kill him is symbolically his ascension to the heaven, which referencing to biblical history. The fact that he is still around to look after his followers later symbolizes how Holy Spirit that look after humanity with his guidance. Well, the novel did a really splendid job on portraying what if higher being descend to us human, offering power and knowledge to build a perfect future, but as the cost, we had to abandoning what was already known in society. Well, some might accept it faithfully and the other will against it with all their force, but it's all for the sake of humanity as well. And this novel, to read a narrative that referencing a lot of religion cliches while disguising it with sci-fi tropes is what this novel did, and the result, it's terrifyingly good and subtle. And that's the end of my presentation. Thank you very much. Muhammad Faiz Jilan.